Bludso's barbecue. Oh shit, it's dark as fuck in here. In the dark, in the dark, in the dark. Damn.
One of the homies' cousins works in the
Fire. It's just spicy, but it's good.
Okay.
I ain't even no kick. Oh, wait. Wait. Got a kick. What is this?
Ribs. Rib tips. Tip.
Just a tip?
Yeah. Facts. Buffalo. Bills.
This one's for all the dudes out there, all the men. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. But the premise of this book, I mean, it says it's a spiritual guide to mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire. And those are pretty much the core things of like a man in a sense, like your work and your purpose.
That's your sexual desire.
Yeah, your sexual desire and being able to harness that energy that consumes a lot of men's thoughts.
Especially being on social media, so it's all there, yeah.
When they use that sexual lust and desire and it's not refined, it kind of guides them into a life that doesn't lead them down the right path. Like it's of this world, and it's more so against your purpose. Like it goes more towards like pleasing the part of your flesh and the part of your mind that's lusting for women that takes you off your true purpose. Like when you're on your purpose, everything else comes into alignment. You are always searching for freedom. The essential masculine ecstasy is in the moment of release from constraint. This could occur when facing death and living through it, succeeding in and thus being released from your purpose, and in competition, which is ritual threat of death. The masculine is always seeking release from constraint into freedom. The feminine often doesn't understand these masculine ways and needs. Men and the masculine wants to break free and have freedom and control, and a lot of the time the feminine energy needs guidance and wants the guidance. You know, they want to submit for the most part when they can trust the masculine energy. Your basic motivation is to be released from the constraint and experience the freedom on the other side. What are some of the most common forms of masculine ecstasy? Orgasm is one. The typical masculine orgasm, as you probably know, involves a buildup of tension or constraint until the dam finally breaks and your tension and energy are released. The post-orgasmic state is one of death-like peace, an emptiness akin to blissful oblivion. The masculine is always seeking this release in one way or another. Most sports provide this masculine thrill of release from constraint into freedom. In football, for instance, the team with the ball is constrained by the other team that is lined up in front and ready to block them. The challenge is to break through the line and carry the ball to freedom. People with masculine essence become insanely emotional during this ritual of challenge and release from constraint into freedom. And if the freedom is achieved, men will shout and cheer as if their deepest heart desires has occurred, and it has. This breakthrough into freedom, however it occurs, is the main motive of the masculine. This breakthrough into freedom is the main motive of masculine, okay? All masculine goals at work, on the meditation cushion, or on the football field are directed towards more freedom. The typical masculine desire for freedom involves the feeling of death, which is the ultimate masculine fear and freedom, in one way or another. Orgasm is actually called petit mort, or little death in French. You say that you hope your favorite football team kills the other team, and you celebrate your financial killings with great glee. You are probably also familiar with darker aspects of the masculine desire for freedom. War, which is motivated by the desire for freedom, is a quintessential masculine pursuit. Most sports are ritualized war, but actual war itself resonates with the core of most men. Even movies about war, men being at their edge, giving it all they've got, up against death itself, motivated by a higher cause, evoke intense emotion in men. The capacity to face death for the sake of freedom, whether actually in war or ritually on the football field or chessboard, is the ultimate masculine act, evoking men's deepest emotions. The same capacity to face death is necessary for spiritual freedom. To live free in spirit, you must be willing to face your fears and let go of anything that limits your love. The attachment to comfort and security is what limits most men in their capacity to make a spiritual touchdown. Okay, let's read that one more time. The attachment to comfort and security is what limits most men in their capacity to make a spiritual touchdown. You got to get out your comfort zone and security. We're getting back into the unknown.
Yeah.
The other team is your own need for private security. You are fighting a war with your own self-sense. To be free is to die to your need to be a separate self. To be free is to die to your need to be a separate self. What then could be constrained? Ego death, absolute surrender to the point of oneness, is the ultimate freedom. Few men ever release themselves enough to relax into this depth of freedom because they are afraid of absolutely no stress. No stress means no thoughts, no sense of protected self, no mission to accomplish. The end of the masculine game. So low-key, men thrive in stress.
Yeah, in stress. I mean, dude,
when we get pushed to the limits and our backs against the wall, that's when I thrive at my best, you know?
And like, you know, they say, you know, a diamond's in like the pressure, the most deepest part of the earth, you know, so there's a lot of pressure down there.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a diamond, you got to handle the pressure.
The diamond's in the rough.
Yep. The heat, the pressure, all dirt.
Facts. Yet the stress-free, unprotected end of the game is exactly what you are always seeking through orgasm, financial killings, or winning a war. You are willing to experience lesser forms of masculine death and ecstasy, but you are unwilling to face the death of your separate self-sense, and finally be the freedom you have only allowed yourself to taste at moments. Men will always enjoy facing forms of death and coming out the other side into freedom, whether in the form of boxing matches, cop movies, martial arts, orgasm, philosophy, the stress of releasing awe of sight, or ego death. You might own the primacy of your desire to be free. Then you can enjoy the lesser forms of masculine ecstasy, but dedicate yourself to its highest form, transcendence of the fear of death by facing the limiting stress of your own self-sense and relaxing through it into the absolute freedom you have always intuited in your core, but sought through only temporary means. The feminine, on the other hand, is not seeking freedom, but love. A woman's bliss is not in emptiness, but in fullness. Her means is not release, but surrender. This is why a woman is upset when a man begins snoring after orgasm. He has finally achieved, in post-ejaculative emptiness, the blissful freedom from stress he has been seeking all day, one way or another. She, however, is hoping to experience love and fullness through sex, and a snoring man just doesn't do it for her. The feminine seeks fullness and abhors emptiness. She will fill her empty shelves with knickknacks, seashells, and pebbles collected from special places. When she does not feel full of love, she seeks to fill herself with ice cream, chocolate, or conversation, rather than empty her stress through TV or ejaculation, as men often do. Her dark side enjoys the emotional aggression in soap operas and romance novels, rather than the physical aggression of boxing matches or porno videos. She longs to fill her sense of spiritual emptiness by surrendering her heart and being filled with love. Her basic means towards spiritual unity is surrender into the devotional fullness of unbounded love, rather than breaking through the fear of ego death into the unconstrained infinity of absolute freedom. In the end, the feminine searches for love and the masculine searches for freedom, reach the same destination. Okay, in the end, the feminine search for love and the masculine search for freedom reach the same destination, the unbounded and infinite ground of being who you are, which is both absolute love and freedom. Both until you finally relax into the place you always are, your woman will continue to surrender to you, chocolate, and shopping in the hope of being filled with love, and you will continue to release yourself through television, orgasm, and financial success in the hope of being emptied of stress into unconstrained freedom. That's deep.
That's deep, bro.
That is
deep. It is facts, though.
Yeah.
Because that's how we do feel like we accomplish something or we can relax, is that when we get our career, when we get some sort of task as men.
And it's crazy how, like, he's saying it in here. I don't know when this was written, but it's like, in the modern times, or at least just us, like, oh, damn, you're killing it. Or, hey, we should kill this. Or, like, hey, let's kill this meal. Let's kill this job. You know.
It's always that killer mindset.
And it's been that since, like, say, Viking days, war times. Like, we have to kill our goals. So it's pretty crazy.
100%, bro.
That was dope. So this book is dope, bro. When I finish it, I'll let you borrow it.
Mm-hmm. I like how it brings in the feminine energy too.
Yeah.
To balance sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to understand the other side.
Yeah.
So that you could play your actual role of a masculine.
Mandatory. You gotta, it's definitely the balance, the yin yang. It's just for men, the masculine is of course more, and then for women, like everybody has their own. And the way that society has been messing up like this balance is that they're over feminizing men, and then they're over masculating women, and they're switching the roles, and that's why there's like a whole imbalance in this world.
And then it's aggression coming out. Now we're trying to kill each other. Because we're trying to top each other.
Because the woman who's over masculine is taking control and compensating for the man who's being feminine. And then the feminine man can never really truly submit, because deep down in his desires, he needs to be the one leading, but he doesn't have it in him to overcome a woman who won't be able to submit to him. So it takes both of the man taking charge of his masculine and also the woman taking charge of her feminine.
And devoting. And trusting. Devoting and trusting. That's like you said, bro, like when the man finds the purpose, you know, it's easier for the woman to start falling in line and feeding off of that.
Exactly. And just like in the Bible, like,
and it goes hand in hand with the love, and then like with the freedom, and like it does circulate back to each other.
Just like how a lot of those red pill talks with those dudes who like have podcasts with those women and stuff, and like how most women in this day and age don't really know how to submit and stuff. But in the Bible, you know, when it says that the woman should submit, and when men use that in today's age, it's like women are like freaking vampires and shit. Like
demonic and shit.
But it's because they don't understand that it takes both sides. The woman's not going to submit if the man is not in his masculine, and knowing that in his core essence, that for me, like in my relationship, like my core essence is to provide and make sure that she's taken care of. And if she understands and trusts that I'm looking out for her in everything that I do, no matter what it is that I'm doing, then she can submit, that understands the plan and where I'm guiding her. Because if in the back of my mind or the forefront of my mind, it's a goal of us succeeding together, then why would she not trust me? You know?
And that's hard for a lot of people nowadays, not just for men or women. It's just growing together. I feel like a lot of people want to like hop in each other's life when shit's right. But it's constant up and down where you should always want to just grow. You know what I'm saying?
It's that trust and being able to let go. And it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's scary out here sometimes.
It is, bro.
All right. Pinky, middle finger, index, thumb.
Pinky.
Inspiration or habits? Let's start with habits. Let's see what's there.
Or both.
Inspiration is solid, 127. Talent is the ability to let ideas manifest themselves through you. Talent is the ability to let ideas manifest themselves through you. So when people say you're a talented person, it's because your talent is the ability to let those ideas or whoever you are manifest through you physically. So if you're a talented athlete, or if you're a talented mathematician, or whatever it might be, you just let those ideas manifest through you. Okay, sick. Let's see what that has to say about inspiration. It appears in a moment, an immaculate conception, divine flash of light, an idea that would otherwise require labor to unfold suddenly blooms in a single inhalation. What defines inspiration is the quality and quantity of the download. At a speed so instantaneous it seems impossible to process, inspiration is the rocket fuel powering our work. It is a universal conversation we yearn to be part of. What defines inspiration is the quality and quantity of the download. Okay. Yeah, when in school, you know how they, at least my teachers would say, when you're taking a test, it's like, don't look to your left, don't look to your right for like information. So don't cheat. Don't look down in desperation, but you can look up at inspiration. So when you're looking up for inspiration, what defines the quality and quantity of, it's what is the quantity and quality of your download. When you look up, you're like downloading inspiration. The word comes from the Latin inspirare, meaning to breathe in or blow into. For the lungs to draw in air, they must first be emptied. Facts. Because if your lungs are too full, you can't keep inhaling. Okay. For the mind to draw inspiration, It wants space to welcome the new. The universe seeks balance. Through this absence, you are inviting energy in. Empty your mind. Some Bruce Lee stuff. You must empty your mind. The same principle applies to everything in life. If we are looking for a relationship when we're already in one, then we are full. Okay? There's no room for a new to enter. And we are unable to welcome in the relationship we want. To create space for inspiration, we might consider practices of quieting the mind, meditation, awareness, silence, contemplation, prayer, any ritual that helps us fend off distraction and papancha, endless mental proliferation. Papancha, it's a Pali word often translated as endless mental proliferation. It's the continual bustle of mental activity. Papancha is the one of the great challenges and coyote tricksters of meditation and mosquitoes and the mosquito of mindfulness. Endless mental proliferation. So it's just constant, just like even your thoughts is papancha. Like if you just have a plethora of just like freaking thoughts like swirling in your brain. So to quiet that down, I guess is what he's saying. Okay. To fend off distraction and papancha. Okay. Breath itself is a potent vehicle to calm our thoughts, create space, and tune in. It cannot guarantee that inspiration will come, though the vacancy may draw the muse into play. Taken more spiritually, inspiration means to breathe life into. An ancient interpretation defines it as immediate influence of the divine. For the artist, inspiration is a breath of creative force drawn in instantly from outside of our small selves. We can't be sure where this spark of insight originates. It's helpful to know it's not us alone. When inspiration does arrive, it is invariably energizing, but it is not something to rely on. An artistic life cannot be built solely around waiting. Inspiration is out of our control and can prove hard to find. Effort is required and invitations are to be extended. In its absence, we may work on other areas of the project independent of this cosmic transmission. Epiphanies are hidden in the most ordinary of moments. The casting of a shadow, the smell of a match igniting, an unusual phrase overheard or misheard. A dedication to the practice of showing up on a regular basis is the main requirement. So showing up to just be in the presence of allowing inspiration to happen. You can't be waiting on it, but as long as you're taking the action to be around where inspiration, in the environment where inspiration can come. Yeah. To vary your inspiration, consider varying your inputs. Turn the sound off to watch a film. Listen to the same song on repeat. Read only the first word of each sentence in a short story. Arrange stones by size or color. Learn to lucid dream. Break habits. Look for differences. Notice connections. One indicator of inspiration is awe. We tend to take so much for granted. How can we move past disconnection and desensitization to the incredible wonders of nature and human engineering all around us? Most of what we see in the world holds the potential to inspire astonishment if looked at from a less jaded perspective. Train yourself to see the awe behind the obvious. Look at the world from this vantage point as often as possible. Submerge yourself. Train yourself to see the awe behind the obvious. Train yourself to see the awe behind the obvious. How do you translate that little sentence right there?
Train yourself to see the awe behind the obvious.
The obvious.
Like,
so the obvious probably, is awe-inspiring.
Yeah, like
the obvious of breath. Okay, that's awesome. That's okay. But the obvious. I have to sit on that. Like what's obvious?
Like maybe it's like don't let something so instantaneous catch your breath, like get you so like riled up. Maybe just sit back and just enjoy it and let the emotion pass through.
See that?
Because okay, for example, like you as creators for like YouTube, we could hear a song or just anybody who creates videos, we could hear a song and we get inspired and we're just like, okay, that's obvious because the song's good. But then does it really like work out for what we inspire it to be. You know what I mean? Right? I guess.
Train yourself to see the behind the obvious. Okay. The beauty around us enriches our lives in so many ways. It is an end in itself, and it sets an example for our own work. We can aim to develop an eye for harmony and balance as if our creations have always been here, like mountains or feathers. Ride the wave as long as it can be ridden. If you are fortunate enough to experience the strike of inspiration, take full advantage of the access. Remain in the energy of this rarefied moment for as long as it lasts. When flowing, keep going. Ooh. When flowing, keep going. Don't stop the flow, that's for sure. Ride the wave as long as it can be ridden. Okay, so when you get that moment of inspiration and it's just like a shot of a 5-hour energy,
you ride it.
Just keep riding it. Yeah. If you're a writer and you tap into a stream of ideas before bed, you may want to stay with it until dawn. If you're a musician and you've reached your goal of creating 1 song or 10 songs, yet the music is still coming, capture all that you can. The work yielded may not be used in the current project, but it may be of use another time. Or it may not. The task of the artist is to simply recognize the transmission and stay with it in gratitude until it truly runs its course. In terms of priority, inspiration comes first. You come next. The audience comes last. Inspiration comes first. You come next. And the audience comes last. That's facts.
Because you get inspired, you create,
and then you're translating
it to the audience.
These are special moments and are to be treated with the utmost devotion. Our schedules are set aside when these fleeting moments of illumination come. Summon your strength and commit yourself on behalf of this offering, even when it arises at inopportune times. This is the serious artist's obligation. John Lennon once advised that if you start a song, write it through to the end in that sitting. The initial inspiration has a vitality in it that can carry you through the whole piece. Don't be concerned if some of the parts are not yet all they can be. Get through the rough draft, okay?
Facts.
Yeah, don't be concerned if some of the parts are not yet all they can be. Get through the rough draft.
Yeah, bro, because like when I'm editing for like Drew or even like Kian or someone, like you have to we have to watch all the clips. We have to watch all the clips, and then we play it. Well, at least for me, like I watch all the clips, I cut what I want, and then I'll lay the music down, and then I'll start playing with my inspiration. Like, okay, I'll run it through, and then like if I am bugged on one part, I'll just keep going to the next section and just run it down.
Yeah, because then something in the later part, you need the inspiration for back on this part, and it all ties in together.
Yep.
A full, imperfect version is generally more helpful than a seemingly perfect fragment.
Yep.
Yeah, if you focus so much on the part that you thought, like say a certain section that's like 5 seconds long, oh, this is a dope 5 seconds, I'm gonna kill this.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't match the rest of it, and then you get through the end of it, and then it seems like this 5 seconds that you were trying to perfect doesn't even match what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's life. When an idea forms or a hook is written, we may feel that we've cracked the code and the rest will take care of itself. If we step away and let the initial spark fade, we may return to find it's not so easy to rekindle. Okay. Think of inspiration as a force not immune to the laws of entropy.
It's there, you know what I'm saying? Inspiration's always there, but it shouldn't, like you said, it shouldn't be like your main source of fuel. You can't wait for it.
Yeah. Inspiration, it really is like being open to the downloads, because it can just be like a split thing that you don't know what stimulus or what thing that sparks it within you that aligns that moment, you know, like it's literally just within that moment, and then you just got to ride the wave, like you said.
Ride it. Habitual
habits. The first thing I would show players at our initial day of training was how to take a little extra time putting on their shoes and socks properly. Ooh, that's crucial. When I was playing sports, bro, if you're, you know how you have like that little like line, if it's not on all the way, or if it's on the pinky toe and it's just against the shoe, or if it's under, it's just uncomfortable the whole time. The most important part of your equipment is your shoes and socks. You play on a hard floor, so you must have shoes that fit right. You must not permit your socks to have wrinkles around the little toe where you generally get blisters, or around the heels. I showed my players how I wanted them to do it. Hold up the sock, work it around the little toe area and the heel area so that there are no wrinkles. Smooth it out good. Then hold the sock up while you put the shoe on. So hold the sock up while you put the shoe on. And the shoe must be spread apart, not just pulled on the top laces. You tighten it up snugly by each eyelet. Then you tie it. And then you double tie it so it won't come undone. Because I don't want shoes coming untied during practice or during the game. I don't want that to happen. That's just a little detail that coaches must take advantage of, because it's the little details that make the big things come about.
True.
And it's like the little habits that stack, that, what is it? Habits become your character. Your character becomes your destiny, or something like that. So it like all starts with the habits, because
it's like building a wall. You start brick by brick. Can't start with no foundation. You know what I mean?
The sentiments above are John Wooden's, the most successful coach in the history of college basketball. His teams won more consecutive games and championships than any other in history. It must have been frustrating for the elite athletes who wanted to get on the court and show what they could do, to arrive at practice for the first time with the legendary coach, only to hear him say, "Today we will learn to tie our shoes." The point Wooden was making was that creating effective habits down to the smallest detail is what makes the difference between winning and losing. Each habit might seem small, but added together, they have an exponential effect on performance. Just one habit at the top of any field can be enough to give an edge over the competition. Wooden considered every aspect of the game where an issue might arise, and trained his players for each one, repeatedly, until they became habits. The goal was immaculate performance. Wooden often said the only person you're ever competing against is yourself. The rest is out of your control. Facts. The goal was immaculate performance. And like my old high school coach would say, perfect practice. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Wooden often said that the only person you're ever competing against is yourself. The rest is out of your control. This way of thinking applies to the creative life just as well. For both the artist and the athlete, the details matter, whether the player recognizes their importance or not. Good habits create good art. The way we do anything is the way we do everything. I love that line. Treat each choice you make, each action you take, each word you speak with skillful care. The goal is to live your life in the service of art. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. Consider establishing a consistent framework around your creative process. Okay? Like creating your setup for your environment to make sure that you're just locked in, you know. It is often the case that the more set in your personal regimen, the more freedom you have within that structure to express yourself. Discipline and freedom seem like opposites. In reality, they are partners. Discipline is not a lack of freedom, it is a harmonious relationship with time. Managing your schedule and daily habits well is a necessary component to free up the practical and creative capacity that make great art. It could even be said that a focused efficiency in life is more important than one in work. It can even be said that a focused efficiency in life is more important than one in work. Approaching the practical aspects of your day with military precision allows the artistic windows to be opened in childlike freedom. Creativity, supporting habits, can begin the moment you arise each day. These might include looking at sunlight before screen light, meditating, outdoor if possible, exercising and showering in cold water before beginning creative time is in a suitable space. That's low-key kind of my regiment. These habits look different for everyone, and perhaps different for the same artist from day to day. You might sit in the forest, pay attention to your thoughts, and make notes, or drive in a car for an hour with no destination in mind listening to classical music, and seeing if any sparks arise. It's helpful to set scheduled office hours or uninterrupted periods of joyful play that allow your imagination to soar. For one person, that window of time might be 3 hours, for another 30 minutes. Some prefer to work from dusk till dawn, while others create in 20-minute sessions with 5-minute breaks between each. Find the sustainable rituals that best support your work. If you set a routine that is oppressive, you'll likely find excuses not to show up. It's in the interest of your art to create an easily achievable schedule to start with. If you commit to working for half an hour a day, something good can happen that generates momentum. You may then look at the clock and realize you've been working for 2 hours. The option is always open to extend your creative hours once the habit is formed. Feel free to experiment. The goal is to commit to a structure that can take on a life of its own, instead of creating only when the mood strikes. Or to start each day with the question of how and when you're going to work on your art. Put the decision making into the work, not into when to work. Okay? Put the decision making into the work, not into when to work. The more you reduce your daily life maintenance tasks, the greater the bandwidth available for creative decisions. Albert Einstein wore the same thing daily, a gray suit. Eric Satie had 7 identical outfits, one for each day of the week. Limit your practical choices to free your creative imagination. One example, modern day, is Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Like, he always wore the same blue jeans and the black thing.
Or Mark.
Well, yeah, when it takes when I'm trying to create my clothing line for the airport, it's just like, if I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear to the airport, I can focus on the more important things.
Yeah, exactly.
So for them, that was one thing for them not to have to think about, and to think of, oh, how are others going to judge me by what I'm wearing? I'm going to just wear the same thing every day. So that way, that's like a set part of my identity that I just don't have to think about anymore. And then they can just use that energy elsewhere.
Keeping the basics to a minimum, and then just letting your creative flow.
Yeah. We all yearn to establish new, healthy, productive habits, such as exercising, eating more local, natural foods, or practicing our craft more regularly. But how often do we consider examining and removing the habits that currently drive our days? How often do we regard behaviors accepted as the way people are, or the way we are, merely as habits? Each of us has automatic habits. We have habits in movement, habits in speech, thought, and perception, habits in being ourselves. Some of them have been practiced every day since we were children. A pathway gets carved into the brain and becomes difficult to change. Most of these habits control us beyond our decision, to the point they function autonomously and automatically, like the regulation of our body temperature. Yeah, a lot of like habits that we've instilled since we were kids definitely is like, you're just on autopilot. Like when you walk into the room when you know it's dark, like you already just know where it's at. You're like, oh shit, it's dark. Oh wait, where's the light? It's like your brain, after a while, when it associates that dark room, light switch. Yeah. I recently learned a different way of swimming. It felt awkward and counterintuitive because I learned to swim when I was very young. My previous method was so ingrained I didn't ever have to think about it. I effortlessly knew how to do it. It had worked well enough to get me from one side of the pool to the other, even though there were other ways that could take me further and faster with more ease. In our artistic pursuits, we also rely on habits to get from one point to another. Some of them don't serve the work, or they undermine its progress. When we stay open and pay close attention, it is possible to recognize these less helpful habits and soften their spell, and begin to explore new practices. Ones that come in and out of our creative lives, like temporary collaborators, remaining as long as they serve the work and departing when they are no longer beneficial. So these are all habits that sometimes people have in their life, that if you're conscious and you are like willing to dissect yourself to try to be conscious if you are doing this and eliminate it. So believing you're not good enough, feeling you don't have the energy it takes, mistaking adopted rules for absolute truths, not wanting to do the work, laziness, Not taking the work to its highest expression, you're settling. Having goals so ambitious that you can't begin. Thinking you can only do your best work in certain conditions. Yeah, you don't want to limit yourself that I only do my best work when I'm blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, no matter where I am, I'm able to do it.
Yeah, you got to put yourself to it.
Yep. Requiring specific tools or equipment to do the work.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy because a lot of people think like, oh, you need to write this.
Yeah.
When literally, if you just start, the other door's open.
Yep. They make all those excuses so that they don't even start.
Yeah.
Abandoning a project as soon as it gets difficult. Feeling like you need permission to start or move forward. Letting a perceived need for funding, equipment, or support get in the way. Having too many ideas and not knowing where to start. Never finishing projects, blaming circumstances or other people for interfering with your process, romanticizing negative behavior or addictions, believing a certain mood or state is necessary to do your best work, prioritizing other activities and responsibilities over your commitment to making art, distractibility and procrastination, impatience, and thinking anything that's out of your control is in your way. Create an environment where you're free to express what you're afraid to express. Create an environment where you're free to express what you're afraid to express.
Yeah, so allows
So if you are afraid of something, you got to put yourself into a spot where you're comfortable to accomplish that or
allow yourself
get through that fear, because on the other side of the fear, it'd be something. Well, in the book that I was reading, Atomic Habits, it was talking about how winners and losers, when it comes to, say, like a sport, right? Say any type of championship, Super Bowl, NBA championship, whatever it is, nothing really separates the winner from the loser. Their goal is to win. It just so happens to be out of all these, only one of them is. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that the losers didn't have the same goal, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So the difference in that, and it was talking in that other book, was that it's the systems. It's the practice that goes into it. So when it goes into why this team maybe won over this team, it wasn't the fact that I chose to be a winner and I chose to be a loser. Of course, they wanted to be champions. Exactly. But it was the systems and the habits they built in practice that allowed them to overcome and the adversities and other things.
100%.
So it's not like I chose to lose or I happen to be a loser. It's like everybody's striving for that thing, but it's just what are the habits and the systems that allow you to thrive, and no matter what happens that you can't come out a winner.
There's this military guy, he made a speech for, I think, the Longhorns, Tennessee, a college where he talked about making your bed.
I don't know.
And like, in the military, that's like crucial, making your bed and stuff. And that just shows like
you accomplished something.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that one win stacks into another thing. Like, oh, I made my bed. What else can I accomplish?
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Overcome things that you mentally think is uncomfortable, but you get through it. Then you set yourself up for being able to take on any adversity. For me, it's when I start my day working out before starting like my work day. When I push myself to the boundaries past doing the sets, it's like mentally, it's like I was able to get through the toughest things physically and mentally to push through those things. When it comes to work after that, it's like I can get through anything.
100%.
So that's a good way to set the bar too. That's a good habit.
Yeah, getting physical with your own body, pushing through it. Like I just recently finished a marathon, and like I said, I never ran that many miles. And like, bro, like you have to, bro. And it's the habits before that day of running that marathon is what allowed me to have the confidence to just keep going. You know what I mean? Because I kept telling myself like, yo, I've ran, an hour a day.
Or you ran 10K at a time. It's just another 10K.
10K, exactly. So then I just think to myself, okay, what's the little habits I do in this 10K? You know what I mean? To keep myself moving and keep myself fresh. Solid ass reads, bro. Solid.
Yes, sir.
Solid.
Content.
It's
content.
Content.
Content and content. Is it spelled the same way? Yeah.
I think so.
That's crazy. Content.
It's dope because like we're moving on to the new year.
Yeah.
And like the mindset, you always got to just develop your mindset. That's just most important in my opinion. It's the mindset. Like I'm not saying the physical doesn't matter, but if your mindset is not there, you're not gonna move around and do shit.
The mindset carries you to be able to push through the times where you don't feel like being physical. Like when you don't feel like running that 10K, when you don't feel like getting out of bed on time, it's like your mind has to tell your body.
Little wins, man. Get your little wins in. Get
Sure.
your little wins in.
Sure.